DORA can feel huge and abstract, so in this section we'll turn it into a clear map. You'll see how the regulation is structured, what its 5 core pillars are, and how they connect to build real digital resilience in financial services. Before DORA, each EU country had its own ICT and cyber risk rules for financial services. At the same time, cyber attacks grew more sophisticated, and firms became heavily dependent on shared technologies and cross-border service providers. That mix created gaps, overlaps, and opportunities for regulatory arbitrage. DORA changes this by creating a single, directly applicable EU rulebook for digital operational resilience, covering both financial entities and their critical ICT third-party providers. DORA is built around 5 mutually reinforcing pillars. ICT risk management is about understanding your systems, data, and dependencies, then putting controls in place to keep them within risk appetite. Incident reporting recognizes that failures will still happen and ensures serious ICT incidents are detected, classified, and communicated quickly to authorities and stakeholders. Resilience testing checks whether your controls and continuity plans actually work under stress, not just on paper. ICT third-party risk management focuses on cloud, software, and other providers that now underpin critical services. Finally, information sharing turns individual incidents and threat intel into collective learning for the whole ecosystem. 2 foundations support everything under DORA: solid ICT risk management and disciplined incident reporting. ICT risk management is no longer just IT security. It's about keeping critical business services running. That means systematically identifying digital risks, protecting systems, detecting issues early, responding fast, and recovering with minimal impact. Incident reporting completes the picture. Major incidents must be classified consistently and reported through harmonized EU channels using standard templates so regulators see the full risk landscape in real time. DORA doesn't just ask whether your controls look good on paper. It asks whether they actually work under stress. This pillar is all about proving resilience through structured testing. At the basic level, that means regular vulnerability assessments and scans for all entities. For more significant institutions, it goes further into threat-led penetration testing, or TLPT, where skilled teams mimic real attackers. All of this is risk-based and scaled to your size and complexity. DORA's message here is simple but tough. You can outsource services, but you cannot outsource responsibility for ICT risk. Every connection to a cloud provider, data vendor, or software platform extends your attack surface and your dependency chain. Regulators therefore expect you to know exactly who provides what, where data flows, and which functions are critical. That means keeping a complete, accurate register of ICT arrangements, building strong contracts with audit, access, and exit rights, and understanding which providers might be designated as critical. Your governance, monitoring, and contingency planning must treat third parties as integral parts of your own operational resilience. The 5th pillar is about turning isolated defenders into a coordinated security community. Instead of each bank or provider learning painful lessons alone, DORA encourages them to share cyber threat intelligence in a structured, voluntary way. When one entity detects a new attack pattern, indicators, or tactics, others can quickly update their defenses and avoid the same damage. Crucially, DORA also defines a legal safe harbor, so this sharing can happen without breaking GDPR or competition rules. Think of governance in DORA as the accountability layer that holds everything else up. The management body cannot push this accountability down the line. They must set the digital operational resilience strategy, define how much ICT risk the organization is willing to take, and back that with real budget, skills, and time. Under that roof sit all the key capabilities: ICT risk management, risk assessment, resilience strategy, advanced testing, and oversight of critical third-party providers. If governance is weak, every one of those pillars will wobble. If governance is strong, the whole resilience framework becomes coherent, prioritized, and defensible to supervisors. Legally, DORA is built in 2 layers that you need to understand differently. Level 1 is the regulation itself. It's directly binding law in every member state, and it tells you what must be achieved. The obligations, the scope, the pillars, the big deadlines, those articles change rarely. Level 2 is where most implementation work lives. These are the regulatory and implementing technical standards drafted by the ESAs. They explain how to do things in practice, like classifying incidents or scoping TLPT. They're detailed, can be updated more often, and are being released in several batches. DORA is already law, but it's not yet fully applicable. It entered into force in January 2023, and the key date you must work toward is mid-January 2025, when the regulation starts to apply in practice. Think of this period as your implementation runway. Supervisors expect real progress now. Governance defined, gap assessments done, and remediation underway, not last-minute fixes. By the application date, core frameworks for ICT risk, incidents, testing, and third-party risk must be operating, with evidence you can show to regulators and auditors. To turn DORA from a rulebook into reality, think in two phases. First, the gap assessment. You systematically compare how you work today with DORA's articles and technical standards. Distinguish between missing controls and things you do already but cannot yet evidence. This prevents you from fixing problems that are really documentation issues. Second, roadmap design. Rank gaps by business and regulatory risk, then sequence projects accordingly. Attach budgets, timelines, and accountable owners, ideally using a RACI model for each DORA pillar. That roadmap becomes your single, agreed implementation plan. Once you've completed your gap assessment and high-level roadmap, the real work starts. Implementation means translating DORA requirements into concrete changes, typically across three streams. First, policy and governance updates, aligning your ICT risk, incident, testing, and third-party procedures with DORA language and roles. Second, contracts, remediating high-risk vendor agreements, adding audit rights, incident notification, resilience, and exit clauses. Third, tooling and data, setting up risk and incident registers, reporting dashboards, and evidence repositories. From there, you move into validation and testing. Then use findings to drive a continuous improvement loop instead of a one-off project. DORA is really asking for a mindset shift. Not how do we pass the audit, but how do we keep critical services running no matter what? When resilience is treated as IT's problem, you usually get minimal controls and lots of finger pointing. When it's a business imperative, executives, operations, risk, and vendors are all part of the solution. The cultural signals are clear: transparent reporting of weak spots, no blame learning from incidents, and proactive collaboration across teams before, during, and after disruptions. In summary, DORA gives you a single, harmonized rulebook for ICT risk across the EU. It's holistic. The 5 pillars cover governance, incidents, testing, third-party risk, and information sharing end-to-end. Senior management owns outcomes. Accountability can't be delegated. Your supply chain is in scope, so contracts and oversight really matter. And the clock is ticking. Aim for practical, demonstrable compliance by January 17, 2025.